MetaZoo's first ever tower event went off without a hitch. Let's talk about the Frogman Festival and how the event went. MetaZoo's Water Tower event took place over 2 days, March 4th and 5th, with the first day coinciding with the Frogman Festival, which was a one-day event celebrating the Loveland Frogman. There were over 1,000 tickets sold to the Frogman Festival, and you could find vendors with various collectibles, art, and knickknacks. Joker's Favor and Immortal Workshop both had booths at the event, and it was great to finally meet Joker in person. Joker is one of those people in the community that is part of everything MetaZoo. Whenever there's a live stream or some content, Joker is there. And of course, the star of the festival was our good friend, Danny DeVito'd. As part of the festival, Dee the Storyteller presented a short version of their thesis. The presentation was called West Virginia Legends and the Cultures They Haunt. If you missed that, I have a video out on that presentation. There's a link in the description below. MetaZoo did have a merch table set up at the event where you could buy things like playmats, the Agua plushie, lanyards, and various MetaZoo products. And at that same table, Jet and Kelsey were signing cards pretty much non-stop. Over the course of the 2 days, the line never really died down for them. The first day, it was filled up with spectators. And the second day, since not everybody was competing in the tower, it was filled up with the players that were playing the first day that weren't playing the second day. It was amazing to see the dedication that Kelsey and Jet had to signing cards for the community and the excitement of people getting their cards signed that they brought to the event. Now, as we look to the tournament, 160 casters duked it out on day 1 to try to reach the top 32 to compete in the second day. There were 8 rounds, each allotting 50 minutes per round, and in that 50-minute allotment you had to play 3 games or best of 2. Many well-known and experienced casters came to Ohio to compete in the Water Tower. Notable names include Easton Evans, winner of the 2022 Casters Cup, Dylan Tran, better known as Medikai and runner-up of the 2022 Casters Cup, Jonathan Eiler, Ivy Roberts, aka Queen MetaZoo, Johnny Dunn, if you watch Meta Bros, you know him as Moldy Potions, and so many more on top of that. There's just so many good players in the community that came to this event. Now, many of the games could be caught on Twitch, with Emilio and J. Logan Dick hosting that, and the stream was artfully managed by Ham and Cheddar. And it's actually kind of funny, at one point the lights went out in the convention hall and we had spectators pulling out their phones to help the casters see so they could continue to play. Interestingly, the stream didn't shut down during that time, it was just the lights, so everybody at home saw us doing this. Now, in no particular order, the top 32 included Jerry Miller, Lester Smith, Douglas Hawes, Andres Lopez, Herman Herrera, Albert Abrams, Noah Duncan, Antonio Hammond Gonzalez, Ivy Roberts, Abel Jacoby, Ricky Tovar, Caleb McGraw, Frederick Chang, Brandon Duman, Damian Gonzalez, Logan Schneider, Johnny Dunn, Easton Evans, Robbie Hadley, Michael Beaumont, Kevin Liu, Jonathan Eiler, Steven Silverman, Taylor Hassel, Sean McKelvey, Chris Johnson, Dylan Tran, Luis Perez, Justin Fogelsong, Jacob Famero, Remy Basma, and Joshua Flores. Now, coming into day 2 of the event, we had a tragic event happen. Chris Johnson of Dueling Bros was disqualified from the top 32 due to a spellbook ratio issue for the entirety of day 1. I did place a link in the description below to his video explaining the situation, so if you want to know more about what happened to Chris, you can check that out. This brought day 1's 33rd place caster Austin Meyer into the top 32 cut for day 2. Now, round 1 matchups for day 2 include Remy Basma and Douglas Hawes, with Douglas taking the win, Brandon Duman and Easton Evans, with Easton taking the win, Albert Abrams versus Dylan Tran. Albert beat out Dylan on that one. Ricky Tovar and Jonathan Eiler. Jonathan took the win there. Joshua Flores and Lester Smith, with Lester taking the win. Kevin Liu and Noah Duncan, with the game going to Noah. Justin Fogelsong and Damian Gonzalez, with Damian taking the win on that one. Abel Jacoby and Steven Silverman. Abel moved on. Andres Lopez and Jacob Famero, with Andres winning that match. Frederick Chang and Bobby Hadley. Frederick moved on. Luis Perez and Herman Herrera. Herman took the win. Caleb McGraw and Michael Beaumont, with Caleb moving on. Johnny Dunn and Logan Schneider. Logan took the win here. Johnny unfortunately took a game loss due to a spellbook ratio issue that cost him the match. Austin Meyer and Jerry Miller, with Jerry moving on to the next round. Antonio Hammond Gonzalez and Sean McKelvey, with Sean moving on, and Ivy Roberts and Taylor Hassel, with Ivy making it to the top 16. In round 2 of day 2, we had Douglas Haas versus Easton Evans, with Easton taking the win, Albert Abrams and Jonathan Eiler, with Jonathan moving on, Lester Smith and Noah Duncan, that game went to Noah, Damian Gonzalez and Abel Jacoby, with Abel moving on to the next round, Andres Lopez and Frederick Chang, with Frederick taking the win, Herman Herrera and Caleb McGraw, Herman came in ahead in that game, Logan Schneider and Jerry Miller, with Jerry beating out Logan, Sean McKelvey and Ivy Roberts, with the game going to Sean. In round 3, or our top 8, we had Easton Evans go up against Jonathan Eiler, with Easton taking the win. We had Noah Duncan and Abel Jacoby going up against each other, with Abel taking the win. Frederick Chang and Herman Herrera, with Frederick knocking out Herman. And Jeremy Miller and Sean McKelvey, with Sean moving on. This brought our top 4 to Easton Evans, Abel Jacoby, Frederick Chang, and Sean McKelvey. Round 4 was to decide who was going to compete for first and second place and third and fourth place. We had Easton Evans and Abel Jacoby going against each other. Abel moved on to try to take the top spot. We also had Frederick Chang and Sean McKelvey, with Sean moving on to compete for the top spot. In the final round, we had Easton Evans and Frederick Chang going up against each other to decide who was going to get third and fourth. Easton Evans finished 4th in the event, Frederick Chang finished 3rd. And that leads us to the Towercaster defining event, Sean McKelvey versus Abel Jacoby, with Sean taking the win. This crowned Sean McKelvey as the first Water Tower caster and the first ever MetaZoo Tower caster. Prizing was then handed out to the top 32 to celebrate their achievement on day 2, and this included exclusive playmats and hats and other merchandise. The top 16 and the top 8 also got the Tower Building Continues promo, and the top 8 got the Tower Building Complete promo. On top of that, everybody in the top 32 leaves with a cash prize in some fashion or another, with first place taking home $20,000, second place taking home $10,000, and third place taking home $5,000. On top of that, first place is taking home $30,000 in MetaZoo product, second place takes home $15,000 in MetaZoo product, and third place takes home $10,000 in MetaZoo product. First, second, and third also have all of their travel expenses covered. Cash and product prizes are also provided to the 4th through 32nd place. If you were there spectating, there were promos being handed out on both days. If you attended both days, you should have left with 2 Water Aura and 2 Water Tower artifacts. Now, between the 2 days, the tournament went incredibly smooth. There were 3 disqualifications across the 2 days, all related to spellbook ratio issues. And while that is unfortunate, what I do feel like MetaZoo could do for this year is relax the penalty for an incorrect ratio as long as the game hasn't started yet. This is a brand new format for people, and we need to get used to having to keep the 60% ratio. So my suggestion for towers for the rest of this year, because we're going to have new players basically at every tower, is that as long as the game hasn't started and a deck check takes place, you get 1 chance to fix it instead of getting an instant game loss. If you can't fix it after that first try, then you get the game loss. That would help people get into the correct mindset for the towers this year, and as we get into the 2024 tower circuit, we can be less lenient on that rule. Now, that event only went smoothly because we had wonderful staff at the event to manage it. Fahir was the tournament organizer and did an amazing job keeping track of everything and doing the announcements. We had our judges, Bats, Bobby Wright, Colt Hayes, Darren Chernak, Douglas Coleman, Kevin Cote, Kurt Creswell, Tuffy Maggio, and Tristan Jacobs. So thank you to all of the judges for doing everything you did at the event and making sure that the tournament went as smooth as possible. Ted, Andy, and Dee were also doing a lot of work in the background to make sure that the merchandise booth was going really well and everything was running smoothly behind the scenes for prizing. Overall, this was an amazing event, and it was a great opportunity for the MetaZoo community to get together and see each other for the first time in close to half a year. I was able to meet so many people that I've been talking to for well over a year now for the first time. MetaZoo, Happy Kitty, I met Termentic for the first time at this event in person. Fizzgig, Slippy, Keese, Rykarth Yoda, Deadly, Tankeray, Easton, Metakai, Tuffy, and so many more that I just can't name everybody. I appreciate everyone that came up to talk to me, introduced yourself, and let me know that you support the channel. That means so much to me. And thank you to everybody that stopped by the booth to get a pin, a sticker, or a business card. I'd also like to shout out the content creator crew that was there. I work with Harley and Termentic on a regular basis, but this is the first time that we've all gotten together at an in-person event to work together. Harley and I actually met in Salem for the first time, and I got to see everything that Harley does to capture the content that he creates. So Harley, it was a pleasure to spend time and see you again, especially witnessing your handy drone work in the event hall. And Rob, it was amazing to finally meet you in person, and I look forward to more events in the future where we can get together. Claire, aka the Rusty Ranger, also stopped by the event as a spectator. And this is my first time meeting Claire in person, and she's been doing a ton of MetaZoo content over the last couple months. Links to Termentic, EpicTube HD, and the Rusty Ranger's channels are in the description below. If you haven't checked them out, please do. They will also have their own content up for the water tower, so it's definitely worth checking out their channel and seeing their perspective on this event. Now, I can't wait to see what MetaZoo has in store for the towers this year, and how the towers are going to help shape the future of MetaZoo gameplay. Looking back, there were some pretty amazing spellbook ideas at the water tower. You may have heard of the One Water Hornet spellbook, and if you haven't, you can check out the video on that right over there where I talked with John about his spellbook.